Well, here we go again with another little video that is designed to help you overcome some of the problems you're having with corporations that are attacking you or your so-called straw man or your trust account. This little video may help you to understand what they're doing and how to overcome the little tricks that they are pulling on us. So the little tricks you need to know when faced with confrontation. These two little tricks here you really need to understand. If you do not know your rights, then you've got none. Absolutely none at all. You must know what your rights are. Now, every presentment or confrontation is merely an offer to contract. And most people, when they get a letter in the mail or something from a debt collection agency, a bank, or they get a summons to appear in court, they're absolutely panicking when all it is just an offer to contract. So get those two things clear in your mind. If you know your rights, then you have rights. So learning your rights and how to get around these things will help us immensely. Now, as we've learned in previous presentations, there's quite a few, I've put up quite a few videos now, so I don't like to keep repeating myself all the time, so you'll have to go back if you haven't seen them, if this is the first video you've seen. But our name is a corporation, okay? Knowing that our name is a corporation is going to help us a lot, because corporations are dead entities and they need a living being to assume responsibility for the corporation. Otherwise, they cannot function. Just like the courts need us to step up and take liability for our corporation or our name. So they come to the man. And so now what we're going to do is reverse those roles, and we're going to show you what you do to them to make them become liable for their corporation. So when we deal with a corporation, we need someone to step up and take liability for that corporation. Just the same as the courts do to us, we need to do the same to them. So if some corporation sends us a demand or any other kind offer, we need to have the name of the person that sent us that demand. Now, they don't like doing that. They don't like giving us the name. Since we discovered this little secret, not too many corporations are keen on signing their offers to us even. And what a lot of them are doing now is on behalf of the manager. But we have found ways to get around that. And sometimes it just takes a phone call and going right to the top saying, well, no, not happy with that. We want the name of the person that we are going to be talking to. They're very, very reluctant to give it to us now. Because they know that this is how we're going to stop the corporations in their tracks. Once we have the name, and I'll show you now what we do. The first thing, all correspondence that we receive must be replied to within 3 days. Now, there are ways and means of getting around this. You can take a little bit longer if you say that you did not get the mail until a particular date. But however, there are ways around it. But normally, everything must be responded to within 3 days. And the second major detail is it must be addressed to an individual in their private capacity. We'll show you how to do that shortly. But it must be addressed to a living person in their private capacity. Our response must be sent via registered mail. The registered mail must be sent to a street address and to a named person. Okay, this is part of the registered mail terms and conditions, is that you must send it to a street address. They will not accept a PO box, and they will not accept it unless it is to a named person. So this is why a lot of companies will only give you PO boxes, and you will have a great deal of difficulty getting a street address out of them, but there are ways and means to do that. Okay, now thanks, Brian, for this registered post. This is what a registered post envelope looks like here in New Zealand. Now, the reason that we use a registered post envelope, and they do cost a bit more, so some of you are trying to short circuit it by doing it by courier. But if you go onto the New Zealand Post website, or if you're watching this overseas, go onto your Post website and you'll come up with something like this. The terms and go into the terms and conditions. I just did a Google search and this is what it came up. What can't be sent? There are two types of items that you need to know about: prohibited items and restricted items. So let's have a look at prohibited items. Now, I've just taken a few of them here. There's a whole heap of them. But this is what cannot be sent in normal courier or normal mail. All these things outlined in blue here must be sent by registered mail. It is the only way that they can be sent. So traveller's checks, deeds, negotiable instruments. Now, what we're going to be sending them is a negotiable instrument, including any bearer security, bill of exchange or uncross-checked, bonds or shares, credit or bank cards, cash, currency, bullion or vouchers. Okay, so those things are the ones we're looking at. It does include fragile items, jewelry, collectible antiques, blah, blah, blah. But the most important thing that we are looking at is what we will be sending is a negotiable instrument. So that is what you ask for, a registered post envelope, and they do cost a little bit more, but hey, you've seen why. Now, all mail sent to a PO box and to a corporation will be ignored. They do not need to respond to us. And that's why we're not getting replies and people saying, well, I wrote to them and they haven't responded. Okay, so now you can see why. And these are the little tricks of the trade that they use to stop us in our tracks. Unless the correspondence is directed to the real person that sent it to you, it will be ignored totally. Okay, so a corporation will ignore it, and unless it's sent to a named individual, it will be ignored. Right, now here's a letter. Now I've done it in two parts here because there's been a few complaints that the letters that I've written up are too small. They couldn't read them. So with a bit of luck, everyone, including someone with bad eyesight like me, will be able to read this. Now, the first thing you'll notice at the top there is that we have private. So we've received something. In this case, I'm doing it to a bank. So we're going to go back in private. And we're going to use our given names, which is John Henry. We're not going to be using Doe, because John Henry is the person's personal representative. And there's our street town. Now, we are going to address this to the person in his private capacity. So, Bent Copper in his private capacity, 1 Ripoff Lane, Skanksville. Now, we address it to him, Bent Copper in his private capacity. Now, here's something that you need to know what this here means. So let's have a look. The Court of Appeal has ruled that the use of without prejudice in communications is intended to encourage and facilitate the negotiation and settlement of disputes. Its use can help ensure that parties can make concessions and or admissions to try to reach a settlement, knowing that if settlement is unsuccessful, then those concessions, admissions, will not be brought up in court and used against them. Oh! Very powerful, isn't it? It cannot be brought up in court and used against us. So in other words, what the court is stressing is that the need to ensure that parties to a dispute can freely and voluntarily undertake negotiations to try and settle a dispute in the knowledge that any acknowledgement or admission will not be used in any hearing, that's if negotiations fail, against the party who made the admission or acknowledgement. That is very, very powerful, and that's why we include that on our letters. Okay, now here's how we address it. First of all, you must respond to the letter that you received and acknowledge the letter. So, we, the underwriters, thank you for your final demand for payment dated 21st of August 2013 and bearing a postmark dated 28th of August 2013, which we received today, the 29th of August. Now, you'll notice that the date there that they wrote in their letter was the 21st of August, but they didn't post it until the 28th. So they're trying to delay the sending of the letter, thinking that that we're not smart enough to know that the 3 days of grace that we mentioned earlier is going to be up by the time we get the letter, and so there's nothing we can do about it. So we're addressing that right from the start. This is just one of the little tricks that they use against you. Okay, we continue. We are not certain exactly what Bent Copper is demanding in Bent Copper's letter to us, as in the second paragraph, and here I have it highlighted, accordingly the bank demands payment from you of $2,165. As there is no sum certain written, and the bank is making a demand on you. Now, the bank must put the amount in writing, because that there used to be a unit of silver, that symbol. Now it isn't. It's a nothing symbol. Okay? So it must be in writing, and it must be $2,165.25. That there is not a dollar sign. A dollar, as you've heard in previous videos, is a silver coin. Okay, then we go on to the notice, because we must notice them now. Okay, the notice. Bent Copper is hereby noticed that we will at all times promise to pay any alleged outstanding amount upon Bent Copper under his own full commercial capacity with clean hands and equity, providing full, complete, certain, and not misleading disclosure to the following questions. Now, they cannot do that with clean hands and equity, because they know that they are perpetrating fraud upon us, and so they cannot do it with clean hands and equity. Therefore, the questions, and you don't need 200 questions like some of them are putting out there in their letters. These 5, there is no way that they can answer any one of them. And the first one, that John Henry is you. Now, if you go back to the previous slide, they're demanding it that you make payment. Well, is John Henry you? He most certainly isn't. 2, that a sum certain has been demanded for payment by the bank. As I showed you, there is no sum certain. There's only a squiggly, there's an S with a line through it and then some numbers. So there's no written amount or sum certain that anyone is able to make payment. We haven't been able to make payments since 1933, so no one can make payment. We can only promise to pay on demand. That's why we say up here, we at all times promise to pay any alleged outstanding amount. That way, they cannot default us. We're still promising to pay. Okay, number 4, that the bank gave full, complete, certain, and not misleading disclosure when loan number 123456 was approved, that we would need to sign a mortgage agreement before the loan would be credited to our account. Okay, once again, they're perpetrating fraud there. Now, the 5th one, what a lot of people don't realize is that that the security that the banks hold is not the house that you live in. Okay, so number 5 there, that the property secured by mortgage number 901-203-ABC is the house situated at 100 Short Street. Send a photo in. Okay, they know that that is not the security that they are threatening to sell. Okay, Bent Copper's failure within 14 days to provide full, complete, certain, and not misleading disclosure to all above questions will, in accordance satisfaction, see all alleged claims settled and closed. Now, here's another very powerful set of words here, and what we're trying to do is show you what these words mean so that you know. Accordance satisfaction, a method of discharging a claim whereby the parties agree to give and accept something in settlement of the claim and perform the agreement. The accord being the agreement, and the satisfaction its execution or performance. And it is a new contract substituted for an old contract which is thereby discharged, or for an obligation, cause of action, which is settled and must have all of the elements of a valid contract. Now, they know that they haven't given us a valid contract. It's a very one-sided contract that they have given us. So if you use that, they will be jumping and trying to nullify this very quickly, I can assure you. Now, we then put the private person's personal representative, and we sign that. Now we turn the letter over, and on the back at the bottom right-hand corner of the letter, we place a 5-cent stamp. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find a New Zealand 5-cent stamp, so I've got an old Teddy Roosevelt United States postage stamp here. Now, this is what you must do. The day that you send the letter, you must stamp the date across like that. You must also put your name across like that. Now, the only reason I put this in red is that you couldn't see it when it was in blue. So I've put this in red, John Henry. Okay, you must do that. Now, you see, what happens with a lot of documents is that they will turn the document over and it becomes an inchoate instrument. They will then fill it out because they have your signature on the front side, and they use your signature to create money. Okay, so the inchoate instrument on the back here could be filled out to raise more money for them. So by doing this, you have put a postage stamp on there. You are the last signature on that page. They cannot interfere with the post. By following their rules, we are now holding them accountable. So don't take shortcuts. Follow the procedures, and they must leave us alone. Good luck out there. Do it properly, do it right, and let's hold them accountable. Thank you.